Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, to offer or not to offer. Welcome into the Passive Solar Green Frame, everyone. I have to make a decision. I have to prepare for one of the biggest decisions in my most recent life. To buy land or not to buy land, and which property. I need a list of pros and cons. I can't think of a better place to prepare than going up to the cabin. Family tradition has us shutting off the radio as we hit the dirt road leading to the cabin. The windows go down and we listen and watch for all that nature has to offer. We hope at least to see a deer greet us on the way in. Why am I going to the cabin? I need to spend some quality alone time weighing the pros and cons of this major potential land purchase that will change my life. I want it to be the right decision. This has not been an overnight decision by any stretch. I started my casual search for land over 3 years ago. It wasn't until this year that I actually walked properties to find Bonsai Acres. I needed to prepare for a big decision, and the cabin was the place for me to do it. Now, as we get to the cabin, we all do something a little different. Usually, we'll want to unpack a little and get the food in the fridge. If I don't need to use the restroom right away, my first instinct always has been to go right straight down to the dock to overlook the river and just soak it all in. Owning land or a cabin is all about preparation. On this trip to the cabin, I needed to prepare the family for cold days and nights ahead by stocking up on firewood. We were getting pretty low. I also needed to better protect the fishing boat from rain that, as you can see, didn't hold back the rain last time. Perhaps most importantly, well, for me anyway, was to help myself to stop my brain from spinning about this decision. I needed to sit down with no interruptions and process all of my thoughts in a good old pros versus cons list. Now, before we dig into that, I also had to prep my fishing rod to catch some fish off the dock. Another tradition since I was in my single digits on this river. Can I catch the big one off the dock this time? I, of course, tried my luck as soon as I got the lure on right away, but the traditional 6 to 7 casts, yet no avail. For now, but it's ready for whenever I need a break. Back to the pros and cons. Which is the front runner? Yeah, I'm guessing you might all know that it's the Carrick property.
Welcome to Bonsai Acres.
Wait, Dave, not so fast. We need to make the list first. So my list is really to compare Carrick to kind of all of the others. So I dug in. So Carrick right off the bat, ready to plant. I could take some of my trees from my current little leased land, Bonsai Acres, and bring them right up there this fall or next spring and put them right into the ground, which means no clearing of trees.
We've got this kind of tall, weedy section here that could be a future area for bonsai trees. I could put the pine trees right in the ground right here.
Which leads to the number 2 con. Of all the other places, most of them I'd have to clear out a lot of land from the get-go before I could even do anything, and that would take a lot of time and energy. Now, a con right off the bat for Carrick is its price. It's a good $10,000 to $15,000 more than the other properties. All the other properties, well, there you go, $10,000 to $15,000 less. Back to the pro with Carrick. The Carrick property has all of the trees that I love.
Big giant red with the poplars to the south. More pines, another giant red. Big red right here by the shed. There's maple, there's oak, there's birch, there's aspen, there's pines, there's everything here.
Now the other properties, a lot of oak and a few pine trees here and there, and some poplars on a couple as well. The variety of trees on Carrick way outdoes the variety of trees on all the other properties really combined. Now a con for the Carrick property is there are 3 borders where there is either wetness or bogs. There's a bog to the south, there's a bog to the northeast corner, and it's a little soupy on the far west side. But there's enough acreage where there's plenty of dry land. Now the pro for the other properties is there's far less bogs. However, there was a creek or a river going through one of them, and there was also a pond in one of the other ones as well. Back to the pros with Carrick. Wow, 3 in a row here. Property has a pump on there, a well, it has septic system, and it has a building. Now, I don't know how much work the pump will need to get going again. The septic system hasn't been approved by the city or county, so that will need checking into. And the building, it's got a little work to do. The roof has a hole in it, but just in the apex of the roof, where the top pointy part. And then the bottom area, they didn't go all the way down to the ground, and we'd have to do some work with the buildings. But the con for the other places, well, there's none of those things. Those 3 items, though, were really kind of like icing on the cake, but again, that leads to a higher price. Another pro for Carrick, and most of them to an extent, but Carrick was the most quiet and secluded.
About a quarter of a mile in front of me, there's a stop sign leading to the main road. And then turning onto this dirt road is a dead-end road. And only 2 people right now occupy this road.
Yeah, do you all remember Princeton, everyone?
Alrighty, well that's going to do it for the Princeton Bonsai Acres. That question mark is now an exclamation point. Too loud.
Now a con for the other properties is some of them were too close to things, like again Highway 95 with Princeton.
As you just saw there.
And also Rush City was real close to a neighborhood. Right across a pond was a neighborhood, so that's a little close and not so private. Some of the other properties, though, did have some quiet spots, like Moose Lake. I was there in the spring when we had that 12 inches of snow, but that was a really boggy property too, of 6 acres, only about an acre or 2 of dry land. But it was quieter, and it would be quieter based on its location. A con for the Carrick property? Well, I did talk about the mosquitoes, but hey, you know what? There were mosquitoes everywhere I went, so kind of con for both. And it was the wettest spring almost on record, or at least for the last 10 to 20 years. Another huge pro for Carrick, the driveway that drove right into the property. No easements, everybody, which is, of course, a con for the others. And the 20th pro or con we're talking about on this episode, for Carrick, the pro, man, it just felt right. From start to finish, both times I was there, that feels like the spot. Now that I've done my pros and con lists, I need to get some work done at the cabin again. So why did I come up here? I came up here to create a nice stockpile of firewood for inside the cabin. Before I could chop the wood, I had to find the downed trees that I was thinking about cutting up with the chainsaw, so we had to do that first. Once I found all the trees, the chainsaw got that all prepped and ready to go, and it was time to cut all the pieces into the right size for me to chop up into smaller fireplace type sizes. Of course, the more I got into this, the more I realized, boy, this is a lot of wood. So we had to transport it all from the locations, and I had to pick a wheelbarrow. Now, one of the things about cabins is if you're not careful, you can gather a lot of stuff. One of my favorite things that I chuckled at last year when I cleaned our wood chopping area was 3 wheelbarrows. The first one is such in bad shape, that was no way, Jose. Second one, kind of rickety, but the tire seemed okay. And the other one, yeah, flat tire and all degraded and it wouldn't blow up anyway. So I used the rickety one to get all the wood into the pile by the wood chopping pile. Let's go back to the word preparation. Yeah, if you're going to split wood, cut wood, make sure you do it by where you're going to pile it, so then you don't have to do all the transporting again after you cut it up. So I had some chopping to do. Of course, I had to take a few breaks and go back down to the dock and try my luck at fishing. So once again, or 2 or 3 more times, 5, 6, 7 casts, left, center, right, left, center, right. Could I catch a big one off the dock? Yet again, I was skunked. Now after cutting all the wood with the chainsaw, boy, I needed a break, and I needed a pool, or better yet, a river. Now as I set up this shot, the rain was just starting to sprinkle a little bit, so I was a little more worried about my camera. But it was fun to do a dive off the dock. A little proof that the old man still has it. On day 2, I had to chop up all the wood. Now the romantic part of this all is being a lumberjack up at the cabin and cutting into some wood. Yeah, bringing out the big old axe and swinging it, getting that workout, and what a great thing that you just feel so good after you do that. But there was way too much wood. So, y'all, I took out the splitter that my brother just bought recently. And this is an electric splitter, no gas thing powered. You just plug it in and play. And boy, did I play with a lot of logs that turned into firewood. This was a lot of wood. Now this was over 2 hours of chopping, so as you can maybe guess, I had to stop once or twice to throw the fishing rod in again a couple of times. No luck. And I also had to cool off because it was hot and I needed another jump in the river. Woo! Back to work on cutting more wood. And now it's time to stack the wood so it's all ready for the next year or 2 of indoor firewood. We don't use a ton, so this pile, this stack, should last a good year or 2. Preparation at the cabin. Getting some firewood ready for the family to go up there and enjoy fires on the inside of the cabin when we need it. And of course, I had to fix the boat. So the boat needed to have some PVC piping where the 2 seats usually are when I put the cover on, so I could put the cover on, have a nice peak in the middle of the boat, and the rain will run out the sides. So that metal piece is bolted to the boat. So I can't take that out, and the PVC is too thick to go around it, but it fits in the slot for the next seat. So that's in by about 2 inches, goes up, I got the curves, goes down, and I got a little broomstick in there to keep it up. And I thought bungeeing both sides to kind of keep it up. Now a big wind comes, we could have some issues, but let's put the cover on and see if this is gonna work. Then the edges of the new boat cover will go over the boat and all the water will drain out into the river. So Almost done there, more preparation to do.
The ends are awfully close, so I might be coming up back this weekend with the family, and we're gonna lower that bar by 2 inches. If I lower it by 2 to 3 inches, those will go over the edge. We're supposed to have a hot, dry week for the rest of the week, scattered showers, but nothing severe. I think the boat will be good for a week. Job done.
A lot of my preparation for this trip was thinking about the land. What will I do? Will I make an offer? Part of that thinking was on the river. This was a gorgeous trip. And after I prepared the paddleboard, which is new to the family, what a great purchase that was. Put the paddleboard onto the river, and that's right, I was able to coast up and down the river and just do some thinking about what I was going to do. This was a fantastic trip to the cabin. I got a lot done, and a lot done meant thinking about the land. Was I going to make an offer? It's time to clean up the rest of the cabin mess that I made, pick up my pieces, jump in the car, and head back home and make that decision.
Come on, there's blue all around me. I think the only place it's raining is at the cabin right now. That was a bite. See if we can go get it. A little camera shy. So it's time to go home. But before I can go home, one more chance to get a dockfish. It's past noon, not the best time for fishing, but we gotta try. This time, it just wasn't meant to be. Good thing I caught some in the boat.
Another 2.5-hour car ride to make up my mind. Thank you so much for watching this episode. This was so much fun putting together and such a great time up at the cabin. And you know what? I think I made a decision. And guess what? I did put in an offer. We don't know the results yet though. We'll have to wait for that. Take care of you. Take care of your bonsai. And we'll catch you on the next one.